lesson is about slope of a line. By definition, the slope is the steepness of a line. There are 4 possible things that can happen for slope. If it's going uphill, we say that it has positive slope. If it's going downhill, it has negative slope. If it goes straight across, that is 0 slope. Up and down, no slope. So again, remember that we read a graph from left to right. So if you're going on the uphill, that's a positive incline, that's a positive slope. Reading this left to right, downhill is negative. Over here, it's like a floor, it's flat, it has 0 gradient, 0 slope. This one is like a wall, you can't climb it, so it has no slope. 0 slope is only going to happen when you have only the y variable and the no slope happens when you have only the x variable. So you can be on the lookout for those two. Positive and negative slope mean that you have both x and y. Oops. Both x and y variables for positive and negative slope. Now there's lots of definitions of how to determine your slope. Most of you have probably seen the slope as being written rise over run. And what that really means is the change in y, change in the y value, over the change in x. And we use the Greek letter delta to represent the words change in. So we can say delta y over delta x, that's the change in. All of these definitions are the same thing, they all mean slope, which is represented in algebra by the letter m. The formula that you might use, y minus y1 over x minus x1. And all that's telling us is that we need 2 points in order to determine what the slope is. Once we have those 2 points, we figure out what the difference in their y values over the difference in their x values, and then calculate that or reduce it. So let's try a couple of examples. So given the points 3, 5, and 4, 2, we need to find the slope. It doesn't matter which of the points that we start with. If we want to start with this point, we can. If we want to start with this point, we can. But whichever y value we choose to be our first value, the x must correspond as well. So I'm going to start with this number here, the 5. So my change in y is 5 minus 2. Because I started with 5, I automatically have to start with 5's partner 3 on the bottom. 3 minus 4. Then I calculate. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. So my slope for this line is negative 3. We can do another example. Negative 5, 2, and 8, 2. So again, doesn't matter which y value I start with, as long as I choose the same x to start with. So I'm going to start over here. 2 minus 2 is on top. Because I chose this 2, I'm starting with negative 5 minus 8 on the bottom. 2 minus 2 gives me 0. Negative 5, take away 8 is negative 13. 0 divided by anything is 0. So I know that when I graph this line, it has 0 slope. That means it's going to be a horizontal line. Here's another one. So, starting with my x value, I'll start with the 4. Starting with my y value, starting with the 4. Minus 7. Because I started with 4, I need to start with this x value of 2. Minus 2. So 4 minus 7 is negative 3. 2 minus 2 is 0. This isn't going to work. I know that I'm not allowed to break something into nothing parts. So if I was to plug this into the calculator, it's going to give me an error and say error divide by 0. So what this means is that there's no slope. In other words, I'm going to have a vertical up and down line. Let's do one more example on these. Okay, so starting with a y, this time I'll start over here with the 6. It doesn't matter, it's going to work out the same no matter what. So 6 minus 4, I have to start with the 5, minus negative 1. Don't forget that even though I have a minus sign there, it doesn't take the place of that negative. 6 minus 4 is 2. Minus a minus means plus a plus. So that's over 6, which reduces to 1 over 3. So the slope for this line is 1/3. So this is all how I would find the slope if I was given 2 points. I might be given a line, though, instead. So the way that I'm going to find slope if I'm given a line is to put the line into slope-intercept form. So remember that slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where the coefficient of the x value is my slope. So here's an example, x minus y equals 2. I need to get my y alone. I subtract x. And then I need to make sure the y is positive. So if I flip the sign here, it's the same as multiplying through by negative 1. I flip the sign everywhere else. Now, my coefficient of my x variable is invisible here, and it's an invisible 1. So the slope for this line is 1. Let's do another one. So again, I want to get y alone. Subtract 3x from both sides. And now y is all by itself. My slope is the coefficient for my x, which is negative 3. We'll do one last example, a little bit more complicated. Start the same way. Subtract 2x. Divide by 3. What I do to one side, I do to everything. So y equals negative 2/3 x plus 5/3. The coefficient is my slope, negative 2/3. I think now you're probably ready to do some practice problems.